Okay, here we are. How you doing? My name's Nathan. Good to see you. How you doing? I go by Just Whip. Uh, this is a new video series for me. It's not something that is completely new to me. Usually at the end of a season or at the end of a year in Destiny, I like to go back and recap on some of my favorite things, some of my favorite guns, all that kind of stuff. And this is an extension of that concept. There's other community members that I follow that do very similar things, and I enjoy participating in this activity. So I'm going to go over a lot of different builds. I've got maybe 15, 20 builds that I've enjoyed over the last year or so of PvP. I've spent about 1,500 hours, more or less, in PvP this year, playing in the Forsaken and the subsequent expansions as well. And these are some of the new and old builds that I've really liked. Some of them have changed pretty substantially as balancing patches have come and gone. But I wanted to showcase some of my favorite builds so that you could, while there's still time, check them out, see if you like them, or just look back on the glory days of when you could do busted things with busted things, right? So this first build, I call it Bad Shoulder. It's pretty straightforward. You're using bottom tree of the Void Titan, the Sentinel, along with Bad Juju. And the entire purpose is to use Doomfang Pauldrons to gain advantage with your shoulder charge so that you can get a third of your super energy with a single shoulder charge, and then get to your super before anybody else can stop you. And as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, even though I died, you get a lot of super energy back for just getting a one-shot melee with that. So using String of Curses with Bad Juju to string your build together between shoulder charges is the best way. Currently, I mean, you could use like some super build, like some super perk synergy, super building perks like remote connection or reactor, things like that. But currently the build is focused around Bad Juju because it's a pretty solid primary. You've got access to like nice shotguns as well, or even sniper rifles if you prefer. And there's no reason for you not to use any of those light reactor, remote connection kind of stuff in your own personal build. Currently, I'm using a shotgun targeter because it happens to coincide with the type of shotgun archetype that I'm working with right now. But this is just some basic footage. I don't really have a set format for how I'm going to do this, but I am going to talk about the build later. I'll show you the details of the way that I have my character spec'd. I don't necessarily always have the best footage, and I'm trying to keep these videos as short as possible so that you can just watch them really quickly, get a good idea of what they look like when they play, and get a good idea of what like an average player can do. I think that this particular build is extremely user-friendly. Like this build in general is just really good. You can use any weapon you want, really. And then you can also use Bad Juju. You don't even have to really use Bad Juju. Just Doomfang Pauldrons and Shoulder Bash is extremely good. But Bad Juju is a good weapon. It's got good perks, and depending on your player preference or style, you can use Air Intil or any high-impact fusion or a shotgun or a sniper, whatever you prefer, or even a sidearm. And this build is still very user-friendly, which is why I like it. Anybody can pick it up and do well with it, and anybody can pick it up and get to their super extremely quickly, just because of the way Shoulder Bash works and because of the way Doomfang Pauldrons works with that as well. So here's the basics of the build. This is just going to be the rest of the video, me talking about like the nitty-gritty stuff. So we've got Doomfang Pauldrons, and then we've got Bad Juju. Bad Juju has String of Curses, and we're using the bottom tree of Sentinel. You get an additional shield throw, which is really good because it has a lot of tracking. You get to refresh your grenades on grenade kills, which is very nice. You've got a suppressor grenade, which gives you advantage over other people's supers. In the trenches, this is a really interesting perk, like just a little side note. It's a really interesting perk. I haven't seen it come up very often, but it can be beneficial in PvP, although it's probably better for PvE. And then Shield Bash. This is really what makes this build function so well, is just Shield Bash. Like you can run in mindlessly, get a Shield Bash kill, and then you're already, 3 times farther than anybody else in the match towards your super, and then you've got a really good primary in the form of Bad Juju to slay out with. And then you've also got like weapons like shotguns and fusion rifles in your back pocket with super generating perks if that's what you really want to do. And this build is focused entirely on one thing. Just get your super as fast as possible and as often as possible. That's it, because supers currently are just busted. Sentinels are really good because you can play defense with them. You can block with your shield. You have a projectile. This subclass gives you an extra projectile. And then you also have duration extension in the subclass as well with Doomfangs. So it's pretty good. I like to use traction on a lot of my boots, and especially if I'm using something like a shoulder charge or a melee, like with Way of the Current on Arcstrider, the slide melee. I love using traction. It's a great perk. It allows you to swivel really quickly, and with a shield charge or shield bash or shoulder charge kind of mechanic, it allows you to change directions really quickly. So it gives you kind of, I play on console, so I play with a controller, so it gives me kind of that MNK feeling of being able to whip my character around really quickly. And traction is an exceptional perk to do that. I'm using recuperation because my recovery is really low. I'm only at 3 recovery. If I had higher recovery, I would probably stick to using Better Already, just because I find recovery to be very important. Recuperation, it gives you health, but it doesn't trigger health regeneration. And triggering health regeneration in cover is just an exceptional mechanic. And if you have high recovery, then often you just pick up an orb and you're at full health already, and it's really nice. This is just a basic collection version of Doomfang Pauldrons, and I honestly think it's probably the best roll that you can get. It's got synergy with the subclass because your grenade kills will refresh energy for your grenade, and then doing damage with your grenade refreshes your melee ability. And we've got so many melee mods. It's a 5 melee cooldown mod build with this in particular, that it just is the perfect fit for this build. It's so user-friendly. You don't have to depend on RNG. You don't have to depend on anything crazy. You just get what weapon you want for special ammo. You use Bad Juju, pretty straightforward. Build your perks however you want them. Put 5 melee cooldown mods into your armor, and then just go shoulder bash people. That's it. Really straightforward, really good. And since supers are so dominant, this is a very powerful build in the Crucible. You don't need super cooldown mods, you don't need anything fancy, you just go shoulder bash people, get a couple kills, and you're guaranteed to get the first super in every game. Like, with 0 effort. And it's fantastic for that. But it is OP. Okay.